Welcome to Head to Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Markham. This bi-weekly podcast is designed to be a safe space to admit what we truly believe in our hearts. There's a huge difference between having biblical knowledge floating around in our heads and actually believing that it's true. Until God's truth makes its way into our hearts, nothing changes. We'll be doing a mix of solo episodes and interviews with friends who have experienced the freedom that comes when head knowledge becomes heart knowledge. We'll talk about overcoming lies in our relationships, mental health struggles, and the way we see ourselves. The truth will set you free so that you can walk every day in the freedom God desires for you. It's time to let go of those pressures, insecurities, and burdens. That's not yours to carry. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to Head to Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Markham. It's my joy to be bringing a new guest with us. So, Holly, just take a minute to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, anything you want to share about your family, and make sure to include a fun fact.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Holly Ward, and I am the Dean of Women at a university in Minnesota, and I work with women. I have a pretty strong, ministry background, Christian background. I was raised a Christian basically, and I've been in ministry for 15 years of my life.
Wow.
So there's a lot of, background in that. I have 3 little children under 5 years old. So that's, I've had a lot of sex. I guess you have to have sex to have those many. 3 children back to back. I've been married for 6 years. And so actually in the first 3 months of marriage, I got pregnant with my first.
Wow.
With Evie. So that's a story in and of itself. But one fun fact, I like to make a fool of myself, or like to be silly and dance. I won a dance competition one time at it was in Dallas. It was a conference. I want to say it was 10,000 people.
Oh my gosh.
And somehow I got on stage to do this dance competition right before George W. Bush talked about leadership. And I won. Wow. I tied with a guy who's in his upper 40s. And so
that's crazy.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
That was when I was I'm 36. So that was 10 years ago. Yeah. I won tickets to Disney World.
That's awesome.
But I never went. So I think I was more excited about just winning.
Yeah. That is equally as exciting.
Yeah.
I would put that on your job application.
I should.
So if you listeners have not guessed already by the title or by Holly saying that earlier, this episode will be about sex. So we just want to take this disclaimer, and now would be a great time if you want to put in any headphones, if you have little ears around or you're playing this out loud in public and want to put in some headphones, that you have a second to do that, to get ready. Holly, what have you been set free from?
I've been set free from, I had a lot of preconceived ideas about what sex had to be going into marriage. And I put a lot of pressure on it. It was the pinnacle of my human existence. It was the pinnacle of my marriage. And then I really struggled to orgasm for probably the first 2 to 3 months of our marriage. And I was very set on just the order of sex and orgasming through intercourse, and by a penis. I don't know how it had to be. Yes, I just had this idea of you do A and then you do B and then C happens, and that's just not what our sex life was like. And I feel like the Lord really set me free from putting sex on a pedestal. And he also set me free from that pressure that I was placing on myself and on my husband, he helped me come back to the basics of like, this is just one part of your relationship with your husband, and has more to do with being known than experiencing an orgasm, which really helped me to enjoy my husband and receive from him too. Yeah.
So that's good. So what would you say is the purpose of sex? It's obviously to make babies, but what else besides that?
Yeah. It's a pretty cool way that God designed for children to be made, which I've always, that's so cool. And it's definitely like, I've been reading a book called Loveology by John Mark Comer, and he said that sex was the first commandment that God gave human beings, which I was like, that is just not something that I thought about. Like, the first thing that he told us to do was to have sex. And so, the purpose is to be fruitful and multiply, but also to enjoy each other, God created our sex organs to have sex. So like, our bodies were designed to have sex, to enjoy each other, to be known by each other. And ultimately, sex is like a reflection of pleasure and of God's heart for delight. I feel like God said that it was good, that sex was good, that our bodies were good, and that he, just like food was not made just for to sustain us, but it was made for our delight, like to taste good, and God made sex to taste good.
Yeah, he didn't have to make food taste good, but he did. It's not a requirement, but he did. And you even said earlier, even the point of sex is not to orgasm, to like hit that goal, but it's to enjoy, to be known. I know there may be a lot of women listening who maybe they're in a serious relationship, or they just want to get married in the future, or they're engaged currently. What would you tell women who are experiencing more than just a little bit of nervousness for having sex, but who are actually really fearful?
So I think that there's two sides to this. Like, sex at the end of the day is beautiful and sweet, and it's meant to be safe. And so there's just, whether you have a lot of fear or just like a little fear, it is something that, especially if it's your first time, it's a new experience. Like, there's always going to be those nerves. But you might have like a story. Usually people who have a lot of fear, there's a reason for that. Like, I had a lot of fear going into sex because I had this evangelical purity culture thing inside of me that was like, sex is bad and it's just bad, but in marriage it's good somehow. But like outside of, and so I was like, well, one day it's going to be good, but for the besides that, it's bad, and I should not be thinking about it. I should not be wanting it. My body should not be craving it. Yes, I felt like I needed to suppress the thoughts of sex, the desire for sex, even the sexual organs in my body, to suppress it, because I knew that it was meant for marriage. But that's not really how God did not make us to be suppressed, but to be put in a place of waiting. And so I really didn't understand what that was supposed to look like. So what am I trying to say? If you're scared, look into that and find where that's coming from. There's so many resources out there. There's so many, and it should be, at the end of the day, you should be able to get to yourself to a place where you feel safe, because good sex happens when you're safe and when you're loved and you're cared for. And so bringing fear into it is going to fight against that safety that it's meant to be. So follow that feeling, and talk about that feeling. And I'm sure there's a reason, and God can meet you there. He's not afraid of your sexuality, even if you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good to pinpoint. What part about it are you the most nervous for? Is it just a body image issue where you're afraid of being seen naked? Or is it you're afraid of rejection? Or are you afraid of the actual act? And then you can pinpoint, okay, what do I actually need to heal from?
Yeah.
So this question comes up a lot for those who are engaged. But in premarital counseling, you might get a book or some resources on sex, but the book might say read 2 weeks before your wedding. And other premarital counselors, they may say, read it a month before. But when is the right time to read resources about sex?
Yeah. I think it really depends on who you are as a person and your triggers, and knowing your triggers and knowing if something's going to be too much for you. And so I do think for me, I waited 2 weeks right before, and that was okay for me because I really couldn't handle anything up until that point. But I think that there's other people where, I think you even said this for you, like,
I read it maybe 3 months before getting married.
Yeah. And that helped you kind of place stuff in your brain and
it made
preparation.
me feel a lot less anxious.
Yeah.
It made me feel safe. So it was different for each person.
Right. I'll be super vulnerable here. Reading 2 weeks before, I read a book that I wouldn't recommend because I do think some of it was harmful. But it basically played out the progression of sex. And because I never had any sexual education, because I was Christian, it was homeschool a lot of my life, my mom kind of protected me from that. So I wanted to understand the biological aspect of sex and how to prepare myself. But it really did turn me on, and it made it hard for me with my thoughts and everything like that. But I did read it alone in my room. And so I did end up finishing the rest of the book in public. And that temptation to masturbate or to fantasize or to be thinking about what if or what was going to happen, it really killed the mood being in public. And I read it at the gym. It was really helpful. Even then, if it was too much, it was just easy to put it away. Instead of forcing myself to read resources. I think into marriage, I learned a lot the first 3 years of my marriage, where I was not as afraid to ask questions, and I had questions to be asked. I didn't even really know what to ask leading up to it. But that's because I came in with not a lot of sexual history. So.
Yeah. And you may receive a book in premarital counseling and they say, read this before you get married, but there is no pressure to download every bit of information you could possibly get into your brain before your wedding day. Because you will still be learning as you enter into marriage. You will be learning for months and years after that. So don't worry. You don't need to know everything right now. I'm going to ask you, it's technically one question, but there's 2 parts to it. So what are some healthy expectations to have when you're first going into having sex for the first time? And then I also would love you to elaborate, what if one or both of the people in the couple have a history of porn addiction in the past? Does that change their healthy expectations? Would you change your advice for them?
Yeah. Healthy expectations for sex the first time. It's very possible that there will not be an orgasm in the first time. But it really depends on your body and what works for you. But it's very and that was my experience. But it was still wonderful. It was still, you can expect you're going to be seeing each other for the first time naked, hopefully. But it is just a special time. So there's going to be like a lot of new and wonderful things. It might be awkward. And it might be embarrassing, or you like there's just so much mess to sex and our bodies in general. Like, we fart, we like our bodies make funny noises, like, and we don't really know what the other person likes. And so
and you might not know what you like either.
Exactly. So, but it's a wonderful experience. But I do think it's good to kind of just take the expectations off and just think about it as, this will be a wonderful time that I'll probably always remember. But it's okay if we don't do everything right. Or there's going to be so many opportunities to try a million things. Yeah.
It's just the start of a lifelong journey. I was talking with one of my friends. She got married before I did, but she was saying how her expectations for her wedding night were, she wanted it to be like so romantic and so like the movies, like she steps out of her wedding dress and then into sex. But she, like, after that experience, she was like, I just wish I would have showered. Like, we just had such a long day at the wedding. So I just wish that I would have not put that pressure on, because I just wanted to be clean. I just wanted to feel comfortable, you know, feel as comfortable as possible. And I also think, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but I think your communication with your fiance about that night will attribute to how good it is or how much you enjoy it.
To ask your spouse, like, what should foreplay look like? How long do you expect foreplay to look like? And then, I mean, even asking, I know that there's some couples that don't have sex the first night when they get married. Because they're too tired. And they want to save it, which is totally, there's no shame in that. And be able to communicate that. But yeah, sex at the end of the day is, I want to say, I'll just pretend like I know something, but like I want to say it's like 70% communication is just explaining, like, I would like to kiss for this amount of time, or different things like that. So I totally agree, being able to set expectations, or even say, these are the things that I would like to happen, or I would like to be able to shower beforehand, and things like that. Yeah, but it was funny, like, even during our honeymoon, like, there were so many simple things that Rich would have to explain to me, like, you're not touching my penis the way I want you to. And which is totally fine.
But you don't know how it feels in someone else's body, because you can't feel what they're feeling.
Exactly. Or like things that would hurt me, or that would not feel very good, that he would do, and I would sometimes be too embarrassed to say it, because I'm like, don't want to hurt his feelings. But like, it's not about, like, at the end of the day, you both want to please each other. And it's hard because sometimes you don't even know if you like that feeling or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to say, you know, stop doing that in a mean way.
Right.
You can say it in a kind way that will probably not hurt their feelings, but they won't know unless you tell them. So, yeah. Would your answer change at all for a couple that has pornography addiction in the past and their healthy expectations going into marriage?
If you've had a porn addiction, you can recover. So there's that hope. Like, you can recover. Are all of the memories going to go away? Probably not. But there is that possibility of you having more stored memories of you and your spouse than of what you've seen in pornography. But pornography is like, it's like thinking about your relationship in that way, and that's time of sex, is like thinking about your marriage like as a chick flick. Like, your marriage is not gonna look like You've Got Mail. Like, it's not gonna like, that's just not real life. And pornography is not real life. It's fake. It's meant to excite, and there's all different kinds of versions of it. But as much as you can, it's not helpful. It's not a good way to teach yourself what to do. Pornography is always harmful to marriage. Even if I know some people say like, oh, it helped us or it gave us ideas. But at the end of the day, the science proves that it's never helpful. And not to put shame if you've watched it, if you've been addicted. Shame will not help you, and I acknowledge that. I don't want to heap any shame on anyone. There's always grace. But it's not good to set expectations or to learn from. The best way to learn is your body and their body. And there's so much wonder to it. I feel like the Bible talks a lot about that too. It's just there's a mystery in two humans becoming one, and God wants it to be mysterious, which we don't like as humans. We don't like mystery. A plus B equals C. We want formulas.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that porn teaches that it's quick. It's like this quick adrenaline rush. And so going into real life intimacy, you can't expect the same adrenaline rush because it's not made to be like that. It is made to be exciting and fun, but it's not supposed to be a quick fix for anything. And it does take a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to learn. You will learn your partner for the rest of your life. And then also you're going to have a lot of times, especially in the very beginning, where you're like, I don't know what to do. I've never done this before. Yeah.
Talking to some friends about this morning, actually, just about how it's harder for evangelical men to break, or statistically it's been harder for them to break an addiction of porn because of shame, because they know it's so wrong. It's like shame really keeps us trapped in addiction. And so if I could say anything to anyone coming from that background, is just receive God's grace upon grace. But at the same time, like, I would encourage you to have a no tolerance policy with pornography to really protect your marriage. And there's so many resources to get that. But I've talked to girls even recently that have been like, well, should I just watch a little bit so that I know what to do? And I'm like, no, it will not help you. Yeah. It won't teach you. Like, the skills that you need are your spouse can show you. And there's so many lovely books that help you understand even just like little practices of like you touching your spouse's hand and them touching your hand, and be able to direct like what feels nice and touching each other's hands. That's just a small picture of how you can explore in the bedroom. Yeah.
There are a lot of just like Christian websites that are there, like, oh, do you want ideas for positions? And they'll show you like little stick figure drawings. So there is a safe way to get ideas without using porn. Holly, if you could go back and tell your engaged self one thing about sex, what would it be? Maybe one thing's limiting. If you want to go off more than one thing, I mean, just anything, really.
What would I say? I would say get out of your head. I would say the goal is to, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but when I am doing something that I enjoy, I usually forget where I am and forget what I'm doing. And I'm just in the moment. And that's something that I've struggled with in different areas of my life, is just being present in the moment. And so if I could tell myself anything, I would just say, be in the moment and you'll find your way. The orgasm experience has been so up and down for me over the last 6 years. It's been like, where I go months at a time where I'm just like orgasming like nothing. And then there's been times where I don't orgasm for 2 months and I get really down on myself. That's the enemy just trying to steal the joy of my marriage and my relationship. And so, I would say As much as you can, be in the moment. It's not about reaching that point. And what else would I tell myself? There is an element of sex that's play. And so I would encourage myself to play and to find the child within that wants to just play with my husband. And I would also say it's okay to be free in your mind about your spouse in sex. I think when I first started having sex, I was like, what do I do with my mind? I would be thinking about all kinds of things, like, what are we going to do for dinner? Or sometimes my mind would trail into thinking about sexual things that I've seen in the past. And so there is an element of guarding your mind in sex, but also there's the beauty that God wants you to just be thinking about your spouse in a wonderful way and uplifting them. So that's been a journey for me. And so I would just say bring the Holy Spirit into that and leave shame at the door.
Do you ever feel like you want to get organized but just don't have the time to? Maybe the planners you bought in the past have been helpful for just a little bit, but then you lose it or completely forget it exists. Let me tell you about Life in Order. Life in Order is a business that makes 100% customized bullet journals to help set you up to thrive in your goals, homework, relationships, and personal growth. They have paper and digital bullet journals, so if paper's not your thing, you can use it on your computer or tablet. There's also so many adorable stickers and notepads to choose from, so you can decorate your workspace and keep it tidy. My bullet journal was a game changer for me, and since I customized it, it was already set up for what I personally needed. So if you're ready to get your life in order, you can find their products today on lifeinordershop.com and use the code JENNY15, that's JENNY15, to get 15% off your purchase. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and order a product today. I like how you said, what do I do with my mind? Because that's true. And when we're doing any activity that we enjoy, like you said, sometimes we just lose track of time. And there's a lot of beauty in that. And I have met some women that if anyone was wondering this as you're listening, it is okay to fantasize about your husband when you're married in a sexual way because you are one flesh. But I have had some girls who ask, it wasn't okay when I wasn't married, so is it okay when I am married? Yes, it is okay. Because it's no longer lust. You are one flesh with that person. So any resources you'd recommend about this topic? I also kind of want to ask you, are there any resources you would not recommend? But you don't have to answer that if you don't want to. If you don't want to throw any books or people who like those books under the bus.
I'm probably not so I love the Sheila Gregory. She's written The Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex. She has the Bare Marriage podcast, which is her niche is women coming from evangelical Christianity and kind of trying to promote the fact that sex is not just for your husband's pleasure, but also for yours, which was something that I needed to hear. Not because, my husband is the most gentle, loving, caring person. If I wouldn't orgasm, he was more disappointed than I was. He was like, what else can I do? Just he was willing to do anything and everything for me. He still is. He's amazing. But it's something I needed for myself because I definitely went into marriage do the thing for him. So yeah, I think that she has a lot of really great tools. I would pump the brakes on love and respect. I wouldn't throw it all out. I know some people that would say burn it in the trash. But I would pump the brakes on that. I would pump the brakes on Every Man's Battle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what it's called. Every Man's Battle.
That talks about how every man has a lust problem.
Yeah. It's kind of insulting to every man who doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like saying, are you going to read a book that's like every woman deals with identity issues? I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not.
Right. Because to assign a sin to an entire gender is a very dangerous thing.
That's not good.
And it can do bad things to women too. They're like, well, am I a man if I'm dealing with lust? No, you're not. What else? Yeah, the Bare Marriage podcast. There is, maybe I could send a few more to you. There's been a lot of really good podcasts, and I've actually learned some things from secular sex therapists that, I mean, you have to just definitely take the meat and throw out the bones, but there is something that I think the world gets that sometimes evangelical Christians need to find. And I'm sure there's some saved Christian sex therapists out there, but I have learned some things from unsaved sex therapists where they kind of identify like how God created our biology and how he made us to be like this idea of like having sex in a safe, free way. Right. Whereas I do think in Christian circles, we accidentally throw shame into the pot.
Yeah. And if someone goes to any counseling office for sex therapy or marriage therapy, whatever, the counselor is not allowed to force their beliefs onto the person that they're counseling. That should not happen. So you could, they'll go with whatever you believe as you state, this is what I think and these are my beliefs. So no one should ever convince you otherwise of that your body wasn't created by God and this isn't a good thing that you should enjoy. So if anyone is confused or just has more questions, how can they identify a safe person they could actually talk to about this? Because sometimes you feel like you're in it all alone, but you don't have to be alone.
Yeah. So one thing I would say is that they don't have to be married to give you, to be a safe place or to even give you wisdom. I've had some single friends that have spoken into my marriage, that have spoken into my life. Now, some single friends don't want to talk to me about sex, and I respect that. But I definitely think someone who is not, I would avoid someone who's a gossip. And I would also be careful about anyone that's that will bring judgment into this area, because even if maybe you need to be better aligned with scripture or you need the truth of God, this is a very, very sensitive topic, and God can bring, he corrects us with kindness. And so judgment, I think, can just destroy sometimes what's been built. So, So, and then I would also say, even just like, I do feel like there are older women in the church, like finding women in the church can be really helpful. But I would ask them like their resources and just like what their beliefs are maybe before you divulge your story. Because there is the reality that because we're Christians, because we believe so strongly in marriage, that sometimes for the sake of marriage, we encourage bad things. Like we encourage staying in an unhealthy situation or having sex when we don't want to have sex. We encourage things that aren't helpful with the right heart. So I would just ask, like,
that's smart.
What's your experience?
Do you like the book Love and Respect?
Or like, what do you believe about sex? You can get wisdom before you share your story or what you're going into.
Because once you divulge your story, you can't like take it back or suck it all up like they never heard it. That's really good. Well, thank you so much for being the guest, Holly. Thank you for your wisdom and your vulnerability. And I think that it's all very wise advice. And I remember I mean, I still am a newlywed. Been married for almost 2 years, but I remember just the very, very beginning feeling like, who do I talk to about this? I don't know. No one's ever told me who I can talk to. So for my friends who have gotten married, I've told them, I'm always open to talking about sex with you.
So good.
You don't have to, but if you want to, I'm here. So I just leave an open door for them, but it's been helpful for me and for them.
That's great.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Head to Heart Podcast. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Head to Heart Podcast. It's a joy to record them and a joy to have you listen. I love hearing from you. So if any part of this episode was helpful, go ahead, share it on your Instagram story, and tag us. The handle is headtoheart_podcast. And if you would be so kind, leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or our website. It helps out the show so much when you do. We'll be releasing episodes to you every other Friday, so stay tuned and thanks for joining us.